Hello and welcome to another edition of a Think for the Future podcast. My name's Jordan and I'm a behaviour and resilience mentor at TFTF, working in schools across Birmingham, and today I'm going to be your host. At Think for the Future, we run a behaviour and resilience mentoring programme, as well as PSHE workshops and assemblies in over 70 schools across the UK, covering topics of social and emotional resilience. For obvious reasons, we can't go into schools at the moment, so we've moved online and we're going to be creating and releasing mentoring podcasts on this YouTube channel. On each podcast, we're going to discuss topics around social and emotional resilience, using our life experiences to bring these topics to life and give useful advice and skills so everyone can use them at home. Today, I'm interviewing Elliot from our PSHE team and Hallam, who works in schools around Nottingham and Derby, and we're going to be discussing the topic of developing good habits. Yeah. Boys, how are we? We all right?
Yeah, good, man.
How are we keeping during this coronavirus setback crisis?
Wild times.
Wild times.
Wild times.
You've got a little, haven't you, Hallam? How are you keeping him busy?
He's keeping me busy, mate.
What about yourself, Elliot? How are you keeping busy?
Mate, I bought some free weights off the internet, so I've been working out in the garden, trying to keep my routine in, but yeah, trying to find new ways to fill the day. Might start painting something, I don't know.
And I think that's a challenge, isn't it? I think that's a challenge of trying to create or stabilise healthy routines or healthy habits during these unusual times, you know.
That's right.
What about yourself, Hallam? Have you got any, I suppose your daily routine's changed, hasn't it?
Yeah, I'm getting up slightly later. So normally, for those of you that don't know, when I'm in schools, I'm up at 4 a.m. So now, depends on the day, I give myself a little bit of slack. I'm up at around 5:30ish most days, but that's just my natural body clock now.
Yeah, slacking. Yeah. We all have days off, don't we?
Yeah, it's not good enough.
No. So guys, anyone listening in on these videos, we've got a mixture of accents. We've got Hallam from the East Midlands. Elliot, you're down south, aren't you?
I am, yeah.
Originally, where you from?
All over the place, all over the southeast of England.
Oh, never mind, you can't do anything about it. Yeah, and I'm from Birmingham, originally Warsaw, so unfortunately, I don't know if subtitles are available, guys, but if they are, please feel free to use them.
Get an interpreter, man, because it's going to be difficult.
Absolutely, yeah. Right, we're going to go straight into it then, guys. So today's topic is around how we can develop good habits, and like I say, it's difficult times at the moment, isn't it? I suppose situations we're not normally used to. Speaking of good habits, then we're going to dive straight into the negative. You both live with partners. What would you say your partner? What would your partner say is your worst habit about you, Hallam?
Probably my forgetfulness. So I suffer from ADHD. I have done since I was a young person. Although when I was in school, which was a long time ago, you could not be diagnosed with it. It still existed, but you just couldn't be diagnosed with it. So it's something that I've struggled with for a long time, but I was never really able to put my finger on as to why I would forget things. Like if you send me to the shop, you send me to the supermarket, if it's not written on that list, I'm going to forget it. It's not because I don't care about it, but it's because I've got so many things going on in my mind all the time. I forget the things that aren't necessarily massively important to me. If it's not at the front of my mind, it's nowhere. So forgetfulness is definitely what I also would be most frustrated about myself.
Is that a difficulty you're having in both your personal and your professional life?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more so in my personal life because I'm not writing things down specifically. So I'm massively organised, horribly organised to some people, but it's what I need in order to be to make sure that I'm doing everything that I need to do. I have to have it written down, or some random idea is going to pop into my head, and I'm going to be like, go with that. So it's a lot more in my personal life than in my professional life because I'm a lot more systematic with my professional life.
But having those systems in place, they help you to some extent, don't they?
Massively, yeah. Writing things down.
Absolutely. And like you say, that wasn't something you could be diagnosed with back when you were in school during the 60s and 70s. As you guys are watching this program, you can tell that Hallam and Elliot are both a lot older than me. Yeah, no, that's great honesty from yourself. So your partner would say that you're very a forgetful person.
Yeah, with certain things, obviously, with there's a massive side of me that's massively organised, but another side that's very forgetful with what I see as the smaller things, but what your partner or other people might not see as the smaller things.
Absolutely. Elliot, what about yourself, partner? What would your partner say about you? What was your worst habits?
Snoring. Yeah, I mean, I've worked on myself to the point where I don't believe I have too many bad habits these days, but man, he complains about every single day is snoring. Like, apparently I sound like an engine or something all night, or a water hog or a pig, or I don't know, but she said it just keeps me awake. It's really loud. Yeah, so
I suppose living next to the car garage next door it's difficult to have that distinction, isn't it?
That was his cover. That's why he chose to live there.
Yeah. Because otherwise I'd be keeping the whole street up.
Is that something you've been doing for a few years, Elliot?
Hey?
Is that something you've been doing for a few years?
Snoring? I don't know. I'm never awake to hear it.
Good point. Yeah. So, regarding those bad habits you mentioned already, chaps, what effect do you think these habits have on those around you? So, your partners, how do you think they feel? So, Hallam, with you and your partner, how do you think your forgetfulness has an impact on her life?
Yeah, well, it does. I mean, it's frustration as well. I think part of it is the lack of understanding in regards to if you've not experienced it yourself, if you don't experience ADHD or the symptoms of it yourself, it's very hard to identify with. But I've had young people where I've gone into schools and I'm talking to them about these symptoms, and as soon as I say one of them, they're like, "That's me!" Like they know and they identify with it straight away, and they have the same struggles in the sense of, people think that you forget things because you don't care, but it's not that you don't care, it's just that you've got so much going on in your mind that you forget. However, it does lead to frustration in people because they don't necessarily see it or understand it from the same perspective as you. So definitely it leads to frustration is the major side effect of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I can imagine. We all forget things. I suppose on what basis you're consistently doing it. I suppose that's a frustrating thing to be living with, or to be working alongside, isn't it? What about yourself, Elliot? Your snoring, how would that have an impact on your partner's well-being?
It kind of goes full circle. So I'll keep her awake with my snoring, and then she'll be short of sleep, so she'll be up in the morning tired, a bit grouchy, annoying. She'll have a go at me, and then that comes back onto me. So then I suffer because she's annoyed at me for keeping her up with the snoring. So it kind of has a real vicious cycle going on there. But yeah, I mean, it's just like any other bad habit. Like Adam said, it has a knock-on effect to the people around us. And I think the thing to get around that is probably empathy and compassion and understanding that, no one's perfect and we all have bad habits that we need to work on.
Yeah, just as Hallam forgot to stay in seat during this podcast, I thought
it was a bit bright. I didn't want to blend in with the wall too much because I'm not going to get a tan this year. So absolutely. But like you say, it's having that knock-on effect, so that cycle of, for example, your snoring, that's going to have a negative effect on her sleep cycle, which means she won't get as many hours, and that'll have an impact on her day as well. Hallam's forgetfulness, these things have an impact on everyone, don't they?
They do,
yeah. These cycles we all have, and we all have bad habits, don't we? You do, I don't. Joking aside, my bad habit living at home with my partner is I leave cups on the sofa, or I leave cups on the side. It's just these little things can add to frustration, can't they? So you end up having arguments with them over these frustrating little things rather than pleasant conversation or a warmer conversation. So, but I think before we go into the good habits, I think personally it's good to address our bad habits because we all have them, So I suppose at least we can identify these bad habits, in my so therefore we're closer to eradicating them, or at least we can be more compassionate to those that when they get frustrated with us. I think that's really important. So regarding the good habit then, Hallam, how would you define what one of those are, what it is? How would you define what a good habit is?
I think it's something that helps you, helps make your life easier in some way, shape, or form. So, although it might sound a bit kind of counter-intuitive that getting up early to exercise would make your life easier, it sounds like it's making your life harder having to wake up. In the long run, it makes it easier because you're fitter, you're healthier, you've got a release of endorphins and stuff, which is what your body does when you exercise. So I would say a good habit is anything that makes your life easier, whether it's short term or long term, as opposed to making it harder.
So that 4 a.m. wake up call you have, how long did it take to get into that? Because that's not normal, is it?
No. I'm an abnormal person in many ways, but it took me probably a year, probably about 2 years overall. Like, it changed when I moved to New Zealand. I started getting up a lot earlier. One, because it was a lot brighter and a lot warmer a lot earlier, and two, I was working training people and training young people, and we had a 5 a.m. session. So we started work at 5 in the morning. So I had to get up early enough to get ready and everything before then. So I started that cycle of things in New Zealand. However, when I came back, time difference, 4 a.m. in the morning in New Zealand is 4 p.m. in the day here. So it took me a long time to get back into the opposite side of the cycle. But I'd learned to love the discipline from it and being, hours ahead. But it took me best part of a year probably to get it built into a full-time habit where it just happens all the time now.
So it's interesting how that you didn't make that, you weren't consciously aware of that in the first place. That was something that was imposed on you. You had to have it. You had to go to those classes. Was it 5 a.m. start, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you had to go to those classes. And then from that, you created a good habit. That's not something that you actively thought about, was it? That was something that was imposed upon you, so to speak. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think as well. I think this is a massively important point to emphasize, is that a lot of people see waking up at 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. as like this really good, positive thing to do. And it is, if you have a reason to do it. Because if you do not have a reason driving you to wake up at 4 or 5, you're going to sleep through it. The only reason that I was able to create that habit before was because I had to be somewhere at a certain time, and I needed that time before to get ready. So I had to wake up then. It was out of necessity. It wasn't just, I'm going to start waking up at 4 a.m. because it's, YouTube says it's this productive thing to do. Because what will happen is you wake up at 4, you spend an hour on your phone, and another hour doing nothing, and then you think, I might as well have been asleep, getting more rest. So I think there has to be some form of stimulus that forces you to have to wake up at that time before you're going to be able to stick to something as tough as that.
No, it's fascinating. Elliot, you ever been in a situation where you've been forced upon you, where you've had to get up early in the morning?
Yeah. So when I was in prison, actually, we if I wanted to go to the gym, I had to get up at 6 in the morning to go to the gym at 7, because that was part of the routine, because I had to work during the daytimes. So that's one example. But I think with any habit, it becomes something that we program ourselves with, because our brains are like trees, aren't they, with all these branches coming out, and each one of those branches in our brain, they're called synapses, and they grow depending on what our behavior is. So whatever behavior we practice and we do regular enough for a long period of time, it becomes ingrained and becomes a learned behavior. So we don't have to consciously think about it. Like Hallam said, when he got back from New Zealand and the times were all off and stuff, he'd kind of learnt this behavior. So it took him a while to relearn how to get up at that right time because of the time difference. And that's the same with me with loads of stuff. If I don't practice a routine and put into place these behaviors and these good habits, then they can feel really uncomfortable and unfamiliar. And until I get to that point where I've been doing it for long enough that it is a routine, it is a learned behavior, and it is a good habit. So yeah, for me, a good habit is definitely something that has to be learned and programmed before it feels comfortable. Because no good ever comes out of staying in your comfort zone, does it?
Well, that's something I've learned. These synapses. So the
Synapses.
Synapses are the biological term for actually something that creates a habit. So use the analogy of the branch coming up a tree. For one of those to be created, that's what enforces the habit. Is that true?
Yeah. So the more you do something, the more it becomes this ingrained part of your brain recognizes it as a repetitive thing, and so it forms this little branch in your head, if you like, that becomes something that it's accustomed to, so it doesn't feel unfamiliar. So if I start getting up at 4 a.m. now, I'd find it difficult, if I didn't get the right amount of sleep, or I'm not used to it. But after a while, it would become a learned behaviour, and I definitely find it easier. I've had periods in my life where I've had jobs where I've had to be up really early, and at first it's always a shock to the system, but eventually it becomes a good habit. And like Hallam said, it took me ages to, or it always does take me ages to adapt to my sleeping patterns and stuff, depending on what I've got to do for that day. So yeah, you definitely do need reasons to be up at certain times, and give yourself those reasons if you haven't got them.
I think that particularly in these strange times that we're in now, though, I think when people haven't got to go to work in the morning because they can work from home, or kids haven't got to go to school anymore, you'll find that a lot of these people now, they're probably staying in bed for another 2 hours, or half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hours, etc. And I think with that, well, you talk me through that. What habits do you think that creates throughout the day? What sort of mentality does that breed? What about you, Hallam?
I think it just creates a level of complacency. So it means that you don't have to do it, so you're not going to do it. It's like touching on what Elliot said with the synapses, and strengthening those synapses is perfect example is learning to drive. When you're first learning to drive, it's like you're tense all the time, you're nervous, you're scared, you don't know what you're doing. But then after a while, if I jump in a car now, I don't even have to think necessarily. I'm looking out for traffic, but my feet are working at the same time. My hand is changing the gear. I'm turning, I'm keeping an eye out as to what's happening. And that's because I've done it so many times. So if I then choose to stop driving, after a certain period of time, when I do get back in that car, it's going to be a struggle. It's the same thing now in regards to morning routines. My morning routine has changed because I no longer have to get up at that time. So to me, in my opinion, is why it's so important to keep some form of routine, so that when it comes back time, because life is going to go back to normal, I think people are kind of overlooking that fact. Things are going to go back to normal after a couple of months. If your routine has completely gone out the window, what happens now is you have to learn to ride that bike again. You have to learn to drive again. You have to learn to do all of those things from scratch. Not having those things in place now will affect you now, but it will also be affecting you in the long term in regards to building up that habit, strengthening those synapses. If you don't use it, you lose it. It weakens, and you forget those things, and it's a lot harder to get back into it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that the word for me there was complacency. I think complacency is a killer. I think once you get into that negative behaviour cycle, again, so we went back to the first question of what our bad habits are. If we go into this complacency, the knock-on effects from that in terms of our relationships to the people we live with, etc., I think you're in that. It's a difficult place to come. It's more of a difficult place to come out of, isn't it? And I think those of you that are listening to this, like Hallam and Elliot have said already, having those things to wake up for, the reasons, the goals to get yourself up for in the morning, I think it's really important, isn't it? To have these reasons to wake up. So at the moment then, during these difficult times, Elliot, what's your daily routine looking like now? What's compared to what it used to when you're probably going up for work and things like that, and you're doing your PSHE workshops for TFTF? What are your daily routines looking like at the moment?
So for the past couple of weeks, it's been, get up at a reasonable time, not stay in bed. So I'm waking up at 6:30, 7, give myself enough time to kind of come around and wake up, because it takes me quite a while. I don't just jump out of bed and I'm alert. I have to do certain things. Make the bed is a good start. So I start the day by achieving something, by accomplishing a small task. Jump in the shower, wash, make some breakfast, maybe do a little bit of exercise, give myself that time to really, embrace the day. And also, I tell myself certain things in the morning. I think it's important to address how we talk to ourselves and how we want to start our day, because I can get in the habit of telling myself, I don't want to do this, or I don't want to do that. So changing that mindset into a more positive one really helps me to get that routine going. And then my morning is normally spent in front of a computer. I'm either answering emails, or I've been doing a bit of work for Think for the Future over the last couple of weeks, going over session plans. I can always find stuff to do because I do a lot of speaking, a lot of writing, things like that. The afternoon will be phone calls again, emails, developing things that I'm not able to spend a lot of time on the rest of the time because I'm either out working or too busy. it's kind of been a blessing for me to be able to be indoors and working on stuff in front of a computer and writing and things, because it was getting to the point where my life was so full of stuff that I was finding it hard to juggle it all. So I've kind of seen the positive in this situation and embraced it and taken on a new routine to get some stuff done that I couldn't get done before. And then the evening times for me, I'll be in the garden lifting weights. I'm making sure to keep up my exercise regime that I would normally be doing at a gym, just so I've still got that in my life. I've got that balance. And yeah, obviously I fit meals into the day as well, breakfast, lunch, dinner. And yeah, go to bed by a reasonable time again. Don't stay up late doing pointless stuff like reading online or messaging friends or whatever. I try and get in bed by about 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, get a good night's sleep, and yeah, then do it all again.
I love how you put the positive spin on that. I think a lot of people they take advantage of these situations of like we touched on already, staying in bed a bit longer and things like that, without realising the knock-on effect of that. You still having that discipline to get up at 6:30 in the morning, acknowledging it's going to give you a bit of time to wake up. Human beings at the end of the day, aren't we? But putting that positive spin on it and having those disciplines where you still got reasons to get up and go out and do stuff, such as your emails or a bit of work here and there, and taking advantage of this situation where you can do the work where you perhaps didn't have time to do before this all happened,
And also cleaning the house. I've been all over the house cleaning, making food, been deep cleaning the kitchen, the bathroom, I've been getting right into it. So yeah, my missus is really happy. The house is looking really spotless. I'm getting loads done, and it's a good routine.
And again, the positive approach you've had there has had a good impact with the relationships you live in,
Yeah.
So speaking of that, Hallam, how come you haven't cleaned your house? Because we can see a bit dusty on the shelves. What's the reason behind that, mate?
I've been too busy doing natural work, mate. That's the only.
Oh, okay.
I've been too busy doing push-up challenges for the future.
That's a nice little plug to anyone who's watching. You can find push-up challenges where on our Twitter page of TFTF members of staff doing press-ups. But yeah, again, going back to that discipline and things like that, putting a positive spin on it. Yeah, I love that. Hallam, your routine, so having this extra hour and a half in bed, if you like, has anything in your morning and afternoon and evening, has anything changed there?
Yeah, so obviously before the gyms closed, I would get up, get ready, go to the gym, come back, read and that sort of stuff. So now I am not doing my exercise in the morning. I'm doing it a bit later on in the day. I'm still getting up and having a routine that I go through, and that involves getting up, having a shower, brushing my teeth, getting ready, putting my clothes on, having a coffee. Like, I'm trying not to become, again, using that word, complacent in regards to I'm working from home, so I'm just going to walk around in my pajamas all day or whatever. I've still got a routine that I'm doing. It still involves exercising every day. It still involves eating healthy, having like a protein shake with a load of fruit and veg and juices and all sorts of stuff in. I think that the extra sleep has helped. I say extra sleep, I am going to bed slightly later. I try and keep my sleep cycle pretty consistent. That's one of my best habits, probably, is knowing how much sleep I need and then making sure that I get that much sleep so that I'm able to function on a daily basis. When people hear what time I wake up, they always ask me, aren't you tired? And I'm like, no, I'm not tired. Full of energy.
Are you always that aggressive, Hallam?
Yes, 24 hours a day, 8 days
How's
a week.
parenting going?
Yeah. So, but as mad as it sounds, my routine is what gives me energy. It's how I'm able to, get up and work out and then come back. Sometimes I work out twice in a day. I've got my son, I've got my projects outside of school, I've got work that I do outside and inside of school. I'm mad busy, but I'm never someone that you'll never see me sat down tired and, feeling sorry for myself. I'm kind of up and going all the time. And a massive part of that is due to the discipline of the routines and habits that I've developed over the past 5 to 6 years.
Fantastic. So, giving our viewers now something tangible now. I'm a worker who's been let go of work or I'm a student who doesn't have to go to school anymore. I can't go around and socialise with my mates. I can't go around and see my family. What tangible things can we give? What tangible things can we advise for people such as people in my situation where I don't have to get up? I can go and have breakfast at midday. I can go and have my lunch at 5 o'clock. I don't have to go to bed at a particular time. I've got nothing to do. What advice, Elliot? I'll start with yourself if you don't mind. What advice can you give someone like me?
Ask yourself, do you want to feel rubbish? Because having an unhealthy routine with bad habits will not benefit you long term. And although it may feel comfortable to be complacent short term, and it may feel all right to just sit around and have breakfast at midday, you're not doing yourself any favors. You're going to feel worse and worse and worse. And like Hallam said earlier, when things do get back to normal and you do have to get into a routine, it's going to be a sharp shock to get back into that. So start developing those healthy routines now. In my experience, developing those positive habits and good routines, it never comes comfortably. But again, I said it earlier, we never get anywhere from staying in our comfort zone. Get out of your comfort zone, because although it might feel comfortable, it's not benefiting you. You're not going to achieve anything. If you want to live like that, then look at yourself at the end of each day. Look at yourself in the mirror, in fact, and say, am I happy with what I've achieved today? In fact, what have I achieved today? Have I achieved anything? Because if you're spending every single day not actually achieving anything, then I would argue, if you're going to look back at yourself after this period is out the way and you haven't achieved anything, you're going to be happy with yourself, because ultimately you're the one that has to live with that. If you're not happy with the fact that you've achieved nothing, then you're going to be sat with that in your own head. So you can change that from today, not tomorrow, from today. You can change your routine today. Start incorporating some good habits. I challenge you to get up early. I challenge you to make your bed as soon as you get up.
Why is that one a good one? Why is making your bed a good one?
It's a small task. It's a small thing that you can achieve. The first thing, if you get your day started from making your bed, then you've achieved something straight away.
There's no point, Elliot, because I'm going to sleep in it later. So what's the point?
It's presentable, and it's always better to get into a made bed than an unmade bed. You know how when you're a kid and your parents, if they've made your bed for you, or your bed sheets are fresh or straight and nice, or you go into a hotel room or something and the bed's all nicely made, that feels nice to get into. You don't want to get into a ruffled up duvet that's all coming out of the sheets and stuff. That ain't comfortable. Why would you want to do that? Also, it looks nice, and also the way the room looks when the bed's made has an effect on the whole room. And when the room feels that way, your head starts to follow, So start your day like that.
Brilliant. I think I picked on that one a bit because I read something recently that the top percentage of the most successful people on the planet, it's no coincidence that every single one of them makes their bed. First thing in the morning, they make their bed. So even if you've had a bad day and you've done nothing, you feel like you've achieved nothing, at least when you go to bed at night, it looks nicer, it makes you feel better.
Yeah.
Just another question, and something Elliot touched on, Hallam, about going out your comfort zone. Why would I go out? Why is going out my comfort zone achieving something? I don't understand that.
I'm going to get a little bit philosophical here, as I do sometimes.
And that's a wrap, guys, so thank you for joining us.
In order to be a master, you first have to accept being a fool. So what that means is that if you ever want to be good at anything, you have to start at the very bottom of something. It's not going to be your comfort zone. If you've ever worked on a building site, if you want to learn how to be the most perfect bricklayer in the world, you are going to have to start off carrying the bricks and the cement, and you start as a labourer and you work your way up. Same in anything that you want to achieve in life. It starts from being outside of your comfort zone and being at the bottom of the pile, working your way up. I try not to get too philosophical. I've done sessions with some of my young people at Bulwell Academy on like Stoicism and the ancient Greeks and stuff like that, because there's so much knowledge there. Going back to like what Elliot was saying about what you do with your time, there's a book, as a matter of fact, that's up there. Author of that book, Robert Greene, he had a conversation that I watched, and he was speaking about your time, so the time that you have, and that you have alive time or dead time. So whichever your time is up to you. So we've got at least 3 weeks, very minimum 3 weeks lockdown. That means we're in our houses, we're not leaving. That time can be a live time or dead time. For it to be dead time, all you have to do is do nothing. You can wake up whenever you want. You can eat your breakfast whenever you want. You don't have to get dressed. You can do anything you want. Waste it. That time is then dead time. To make that time a live time means that you are achieving something with it. You're using it productively. So for me, it might be, or it has been, getting better at chess. I love playing chess. I play online every day, and I've spent some time whilst I've been off getting a little bit better. Is that going to change my life? Maybe one way it will, maybe one way it won't. However, I'm investing that time rather than just sitting on Instagram scrolling or Xbox or PlayStation or whatever. I'm using it to get a little bit better at something that's important to me. Same when it comes to reading, same when it comes to time with my son, same when it comes to my degree. Any spare time that I have, I try and make it into a live time as opposed to dead time. You don't have to, but your life is going to be, you're going to be in a lot better position, or your life is going to be in a lot of a better position if you choose to make that time a live time as opposed to dead. So staying in our comfort zone, essentially we can all agree on, you're not achieving anything, are you? So I think it's all about getting out of our comfort zone, So for example, I'm the worst chef in the world. I can't cook anything. So a little task for me, as well as making my bed first thing in the morning, it might be trying to cook breakfast, something, a little thing like that. And then that might make me feel a little better. Not the fact whether I've success or failure, that for me doesn't matter. It's just the fact that I've given it a go. And then that should help me have a better habit throughout the day as well. So I think that's something I can take. So looking for tangible qualities now. Make your bed in the morning, because I think that'll make you feel good. And I think essentially, which we've agreed on there, is get out your comfort zone. My problem is, Hallam, as you know, I love my football, and I live in a flat. I can't play football. So what would you suggest that I can do? I
don't like chess.
Sorry?
I don't like chess. I've got no interest in chess.
You've got, in my opinion, you've got a few options. Looking at the subject or the activity as a whole, as opposed to just one thing. So saying that I like football means that I have to kick a football around. No, not necessarily. What that could mean is you read, the biography of a good manager, like Alex Ferguson, or maybe someone from Aston Villa or something. If you've got low aspirations, it's
How do you block people out of this chat?
How do you block people? Just mute. But look into other aspects of the sport. Spend your time researching, or take up another hobby. Have a look into some other things. You do not, just because you love that one thing, it's not going anywhere. We are going to head back to normal life afterwards. Why not use this time productively and pick up a new habit? Learn to cook better. So instead of focusing on, I can't play football, well, I can cook, I can, learn to read, I can start to love to play chess, I can write a book. You can do whatever it is you want with this time. Make it a lifetime, going back to what I was saying before.
Brilliant. So we've got I love that. So for example, I love my football, but I'm not just looking at it from a frustrated point of view that I can't go out and play. I'm looking at it from you're looking at things from a different angle, aren't you? What other things can I learn about this sport that I love? It doesn't have to be me kicking a ball up against a wall or playing in the garden where I haven't got one. But it can be looking at it from a different angle so I can learn more about the sport I love. Elliot, that's something I've seen you do in your presentations regarding, and that Hallam's touched on there, is learning a new skill. Why is that important?
When we learn new stuff, not only does it, harbour those new little growths in our brain that give us new habits, new routines and new knowledge, it also gives us a different perspective on ourselves and our place in the world. One example is, when I was growing up and going to school, I never really enjoyed writing or doing much work around the English language, stuff like that. But when I had the opportunity to improve my English skills and get a better grasp on the English language, I did. And I started writing. It started with writing letters and receiving letters and learning how to spell better, learning what kind of words and terminologies I could use. And it kind of grew and grew and grew. And now I'm a published author. I've got a book in bookshops across the UK on Amazon that I contributed to, published by Penguin. And that's like just because I started learning a new skill, and it could be something as small as, you pick up a pen and you write down a list of things that you're grateful for, or you write a letter to someone, or you write a letter to a neighbour to say, do they want any help? But when we learn something new and we get a grasp on something, it gives us new directions, gives us a different perspective. You know, if you don't like chess, play more of it, because you probably don't like it because you're not very good at it. I like things that I'm good at. That's normal. We like winning. If you like football, you probably like the competitive edge of it. So you probably enjoy playing it because you're good at it, you know. I like football, but I'm not very good at it, so I don't really play much football, you know. So it's all about getting out of our comfort zone. Again, it keeps going back to that thing of our comfort zone. So get out of it and try something new, learn something new, challenge yourself to learn one new fact every day. You know, it's important to keep stretching our brains and giving us a different perspective by learning new things.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's going from that. It's going into that positive behaviour cycle, which we all know. And Elliot, I've learned from watching you and your presentations. First things first, you have to have a hobby or an interest. You have to. Otherwise, you will be watching Netflix for 10 hours a day. You will be going on Instagram or Facebook or just messing around on your phone all day. Go on, Elliot.
There's a quote that I always say. I think I said it in the last one that we did of these the other day, and I always say it. But the quote is, I can't think my way into a better way of acting. I have to act my way into a better way of thinking. And that comes back to those synapses in the brain. We have to practice the behavior enough for it to become normalized to us, you know. I'll talk myself out of anything productive. You know, I'll talk myself out of it. My brain doesn't like me to do things that I'm not comfortable with. So I have to switch it off for a second, do that behavior first. And then after a while, my brain goes, oh, actually, that's not so bad, is it? We're getting quite good at this now. So don't think your way into a better way of acting. Act your way into a better way of thinking.
Fantastic. So again, going back into that, so making you do it, isn't it? Making you physically do it. So you're literally doing it. We're not just talking ourselves into it, we're physically. And I think that's a fantastic thing. So rather than talking yourself into a book, you pick the book up, so you're actually doing it, you know. So again, just going back to tangible things, so people watching this can make a list of things, how they can get themselves into better habits during these strange times, and then hopefully they can stick with them beyond these times. We're getting out of bed in the morning, we're making our bed. Regardless if we have a good or bad day, it makes us feel better. We're getting out of our comfort zone. So for those of you that can't cook. Learning a new skill, having a hobby or an interest. That for me is something I had to learn. Having a hobby or an interest that will make you feel motivated, and having that motivation will ultimately lead you to achieving. Now, the achievement doesn't have to be picking up a medal or a trophy, but it can just make you feel better than what you were previously, and that for me is a positive behaviour cycle. So guys, Hallam, what would be one of your key take-home messages for viewers listening to this?
Build a bit of a routine. So actively create yourself a bit of a routine. You don't have to write it down. It's easier if you do. And just 3 or 4 things that you're doing in the morning to get yourself up and ready. It's not going to make your life perfect, but it's going to make you feel a bit more productive. It's going to help you to kind of, again, get out your comfort zone. Your nice warm bed in the morning when you don't want to get up, get out. Like I said, make your bed, brush your teeth, have a shower, drink some water. Simple things, but create yourself a bit of a routine and stick to it. And make part of that routine something that you don't necessarily want to do. Schoolwork, research, reading, whatever. Some part of it has to be something that is productive and that you have to get done. And then also factor in the things that you want to do. So, you know, do your schoolwork for an hour, play Xbox for an hour, whatever it is, whatever that balance is for you. Don't be a tyrant to yourself. Don't try and bully yourself into this perfect routine. Have a bit of, you know, be kind to yourself in regards to your routine, but have some stuff in there that pushes you out of your comfort zone.
I think that's brilliant what you touched on there. We're all human beings, aren't we? And, you know, if you want that half an hour watching your favourite TV programme, you're a human being, go and have it. But it's about having that balance, isn't it? Watching TV all day isn't going to be healthy for you, but having that balance of, you know what, I'll have a bit of me time now. I think that's perfectly fine thing to do. Yeah, absolutely love that. Go on, Elliot, about yourself. What would be one of your key take-home messages from this?
Just to emphasise that routine thing and incorporating things that are going to get us out of that comfort zone. And if you can't think of anything yourself, ask the people around you in your house, your family, your partner, your brothers, your sisters, whoever it is that you live with, if it's anyone, ask them if they need any help with stuff. I mean, that's a really good way to get you out of yourself. I do it all the time. I mean, yeah, my partner loves it. When I ask her, do you need me to do anything that I can help with around the house? Can I help you with some of your work? not only is it being of service to her, but it's getting me out of my head and my comfort zone and out of that place of complacency. So yeah, be of service to other people, man. Use this opportunity. You know, maybe, I don't know, phone your neighbours or phone your friends, ask them if they need any anything from the supermarket or something. You know, obviously respect this social distancing and don't go out if you don't need to. But if you can help other people that can't do the things that you can, then do it. And also that healthy routine, you know, more exercise, more protein shakes, you know, incorporate that stuff into your day. It's only going to make you feel better. Look, I'm smiling because I'm doing this stuff. You know, you're smiling, people smiling. It keeps us happy to get into these good habits and these good routines.
Absolutely. Then now you're spot on, aren't you? Just for a second, when you turned around there, I thought you were going to plug one of your books, Elliot.
Available in the Waterstones near you.
Class, mate. Gents, I think that's a wrap. But Hallam, Elliot, really appreciate your time. Guys, hopefully for those of you that are listening, you can take something away from that. So yeah, Hallam, Elliot, thank you very much for joining us.
Cheers.
For the rest of you, thank you for listening to the Think for the Future podcast. Hopefully you can take something away from that. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Twitter, so you can keep up to date with us. And tune in for next week's session as well, Music and Emotions, Monday at 10 o'clock. Gents, thank you very much.